if you look at things as a challenge like I do, because I tend to thrive on challenges, if I come up with solutions to those challenges and they're creative, they're going to be better than if they were just rote. Hello and welcome to the Creative Solutions Podcast. I'm your host, Izolda. Whether you're writing the first sentence of a story or solving the climate crisis, you need to think in new ways. On the show, I interview peak performers who are coming up with those creative solutions. Through creativity, action, inspiration, and innovation, they're changing the world. I also bring you ideas and techniques that you can use to unlock your potential to do the same. And now, let's get to the show. Hello and welcome to the show. My name is Izolda and I'm thrilled that you're here. A few weeks ago, I talked to you about the fact that the podcast was going to be undergoing some changes. Up until recently, I've been calling it the Innovative Mindset Podcast because I was talking about the things we need to do to innovate the way we spark our ingenuity so that we can face and address some of the biggest problems that we have. And I interview people who are innovating, but more and more, I've been realizing that I need to both go backwards a little bit and retrace my steps, and also strike out boldly in a new direction. And so this podcast is changing. Has changed, I should say. What was the Innovative Mindset Podcast is now the Creative Solutions Podcast. I really wanted to refocus the entire show into something that I believe in with my deepest self. Now, I've talked to you a lot about the fact that I'm a creative in various ways. And I write, I'm a musician, I've written 8 books, I run the premier holiday caroling group on the East Coast, the Philosopher's Tones. I just finished a year-long project where I did digital painting every single day for a year. I've pushed and continue to push my creative brain to think outside the box, to come up with new ideas every single day and hopefully multiple times a day. And the reason is because I truly believe that in order to solve the biggest and even the smallest problems that we face on this planet, it takes creativity. And the question I come back to is, how can we use creativity to come up with the critical solutions we need in the world? Whether you're trying to, start your first novel or draw a picture or paint a painting or solve the climate crisis, you need to approach every problem creatively. You have to think outside the norm. You have to come up with ideas and then act on them to solve these big problems that you're facing, whether it's the first sentence of a story or how to address hydrocarbons in the atmosphere. So, why is this important? It's important because I want the podcast to reflect those very changes. So what I've decided to do is rename the podcast the Creative Solutions Podcast. It's all about talking to and exploring creatives and how they use creativity to solve the problems that they see. I've mentioned before this wonderful Netflix documentary called The Art of Design, where they follow different designers, a different designer per episode, and how those designers have used their own creativity to change others' lives. There's a toy designer, for example, whose toys are being used in schools so the kids can unleash their own imaginations. There's an architect whose buildings are really combining the natural world and livability, right? So there are so many different ways that creatives can use their incredible brains, their incredible minds to solve some of these problems that we're all facing, and I want to highlight that. So the show is refocusing. It's becoming something that's going to be all about how we come up with those creative solutions. Again, whether you're trying to write a story, how do you come up with that first line? How do you come up with plot? How do you develop your characters? How do you think outside the box and write something that is really new and fresh? Or you're trying to address how to bring environmental education to children in Australia or Kosovo. How do you do that? Well, those are all going to take creative thinking and creative doing and creative solutions. I like to look at things that are issues and challenges as solvable problems. So creative solutions are the way I always try to do it. And creativity, inherent to creativity is also intuition, right? In order to be able to think creatively, you also have to be able to think intuitively. So hand in hand with the creative solutions are going to be intuitive ones. How can we use our gut instincts to see a possibility and to know which one we should follow if we see more than one? Because that's an important aspect of this. Every minute of every day, you're faced with choices. And you can go left or you can go right. You can go up or you can go down. You can go through or you can go around. You need to figure that out. And a lot of times you try to use logic, but logic sometimes fails because the logical thing seems to be to go to the right, but your intuition, your gut instincts are saying, you know what? I think you need to go to the left. Even if it's going to be more challenging, even if it's going to be more difficult, there's information there for you and you need to follow it and see where it leads you. And so sometimes you have to go into that intuitive place as well as that creative place. So the podcast progresses. You're going to hear me talk a lot more about how to hone your intuitive skills, how to hone your creative skills, and how to use both your intuition and your creative brain to come up with those out-of-the-box solutions. And how, when I interview other people, how they do it. You're going to hear me do interviews of books like Made to Stick by the Heath brothers, and other books that are all about coming up with creativity and creative ideas, creative thoughts to use in your life and in your work. I fully believe that if we apply principles of creativity to our lives and our work, we will improve both. We're going to live incredible lives if we can do that. So you're going to hear me talk a lot more about this in future episodes. But as this year changing over into 2023, I wanted to make sure that this became the forefront. You know, it's funny because I thought about making this just the Izolda Tea Show or the Izolda Trachtenberg Book Show and just going from there. But you know what? I think it's important to really think about those solutions, those creative solutions. Some people say, if all you have is a hammer, every problem looks like a nail. And I get that. But I also get that I truly believe that creativity, and that if we imagine that notion, if we keep that in the forefront, we're going to come up with unique, delightful, amazing solutions. And so if you look at things as a challenge like I do, because I tend to thrive on challenges, if I come up with solutions to those challenges and they're creative, they're going to be better than if they were just rote. So that's what I'm going to have happen in the show. If everything else is pretty much going to stay the same, I did want to make sure you knew that the focus of how I approach what I approach is changing just a little. All right. This is Izolda Trachtenberg for the Creative Solutions Podcast. I'm reminding you that, as always, this episode is brought to you by Brain FM. Brain FM is amazing for sparking that creative and intuitive drive inside you, or for supercharging those abilities when you need them. And you can get a discount if you go to the link. And yes, I'm an affiliate, so I do use the program every day, and I'll get a little bit of a kickback if you decide to try it. I don't ever promote anything I don't fully believe in. So I want you to know you can get 20% off if you decide you want to try Brain FM for yourself. Just go to the link in the bio and then use the code, for now, Innovative Mindset. That's going to change. It's going to become the Creative Solutions Podcast little code. But for today, go ahead and still try the Innovative Mindset one. Until next time, when I'm going to talk a lot more about creative solutions, whether or not those problems are you're painting a painting and how do you do it, or again, you're trying to solve the climate crisis or air quality, or I'm not sure whatever it is you're trying to solve. If you think outside the box, if you put on your creative thinking hat, you're going to come up with incredible and creative solutions. So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. That's my why, as they say, what Simon Sinek says. I love you, truthfully, and I hope that you are having an amazing day. And I remind you, as always, to be bold, be creative, and most of all, be kind. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you being here. Please subscribe to the podcast if you're new, and it would mean the world to me if you told a friend about it. Today's episode was produced by Izolda Trachtenberg and is copyright 2023. As always, please remember this is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Past performance does not guarantee future results, although we can always hope. Until next time, keep living what you believe in.